What's up, people of the internet? My name is Dabicap, and today we're going to teach a noob how to play Artifact. Alright, so I'm Dabicap. This is my brother. Say hello.
Hello.
We're going to Blizzcon, and since he's in town, I thought it might be a cool video to just like watch a game of Artifact together, because I make videos about Artifact, so I know what's up. Have you even seen a video of Artifact, like a full gameplay?
I've seen clips. I haven't. I know virtually nothing about it other than there are 3 lanes and it was based on Tota and it was made by the guy that made Magic.
Right.
Past that, nothing.
So we're going to go over this from the perspective of a complete noob. So if you're a beginner to Artifact, then watch this video, because maybe he can like ask questions that a noob would ask, and I will answer them.
I have seen.
Actually, let me explain to you what the situation is. So there's 3 lanes and there's 5 heroes on each side.
Right.
When the game starts, it automatically deploys 1 hero to each lane, and then you have 2 in reserves.
Okay.
The 4th hero comes in on the 2nd turn, and the 5th hero comes in on the 3rd turn for both heroes. Every card, with the exception of item cards, has a color. You can only cast that card's color if a hero is in the lane. Okay. So like if you have a red spell, you have to have a red hero in the lane. Can
you have multiple, say, red heroes, or like can you have 5 red heroes?
You can.
Okay.
You sure can. Most decks though are multicolored. So you start at 3 mana.
Yeah.
And he spends 3 mana in this lane tower. Each tower has their own set of mana. And then it passes. You take turns. It's not like Hearthstone where you just do everything you can. It's like pass, and then when both players don't do anything, it goes to the next lane. So in this case, the opponent didn't play a card, so he passed it. So now, once he passes it, it'll go to the next lane.
Okay.
Any questions so far?
No.
Yeah, you got it all. You're a master of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. So, red. Do you know about the colors?
No.
Red's really tough and brawly. They have the biggest, strongest heroes. It's actually based on the classic fantasy archetype of warrior, rogue, cleric, mage.
Okay.
Red is like the warrior. Green is the color of like the cleric. They're really defensive. They like buffs. Blue is the color of mages. They're really weak. Their heroes are really scrawny, but they do like awesome spell damage. They're really slow. Kind of the control color. And then there's black. They're the rogue color. So after you go through 3 lanes, you get to do the item deck. Basically, every time you see down there at the bottom, every time you kill something, you get gold. Heroes are worth 5. All other creep are worth 1. Yeah. So you can see this is the 4th hero comes in on each lane, or on each side. So you get to decide where it comes in, and obviously you don't get to see where the opponent places his hero. Okay. And then black is the color of rogues, so they're really like sneaky and they're good at evading things and like getting direct damage. They're kind of aggressive.
On any given turn, is it like Hearthstone where you say pick that 2/1/4 on the left to attack the 3/7 on the right? No.
This is called the action phase. Basically means it's my turn to play a card, your turn to play a card, my turn, your turn. And then once both players don't play a card, once both players pass, it proceeds to the combat phase. And at that point, both sides just smack into each other. So those X's indicate that when the combat phase happens, these units will die, and the ones that don't have an X.
So how
and you can see like down here at the bottom, like Pugna's gonna. This is Pugna. Pugna's gonna take 2 damage from this thing, and this thing's gonna take 6 damage from this thing.
Okay, so it's cards that are opposite of
right.
Okay.
However, it is worth mentioning that sometimes heroes can, well, any card really can have a. All right, you'll see it here. Now, there's a 50% chance that a card is going to attack in front of it if it's empty. Otherwise, there's a 25% chance that it'll attack to either side. But if there's a minion in front of it, it will always attack in front of it.
Okay. Is there a like bleed over damage? Right, if
like trample?
Yeah.
No.
No.
However, there is a special quality called siege, and like for example, if a unit has siege 5, what that means is if it hits a unit in front of it, then it just does 5 damage straight to the tower. And the way that you win is you destroy 2 towers, either 2 separate towers like this one plus this one, or 1 tower, and then when you destroy the tower, it reveals the core, which has 80 health. So, destroy that tower and then destroy the core behind it. So this is, he was thinking about casting Stellar Mini's favor. Improvements can be a couple cards can be cast across lane. So like if you've got a red here on this lane, you can cast a cross lane spell into a different lane, which can be good if you're like losing lane 1 and you want to win lane 2. You can use lane 1's mana to win lane 2, right?
So each lane has its own mana?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So ideally, you want to have one hero in each lane, typically, because that gives you the most opportunities to use it. It gives you triple the mana, basically. But if you only have 2 heroes in 2 lanes, or if you have 2 heroes in 1 lane, that's just 1 times the mana, right?
Is the shop, are the items in the shop random, and do they get better throughout the game?
Here, let me show you. So this slot here is 4 consumables. There's 4 consumables in the game.
Yeah.
It's, I think, 3 potions plus the Scroll Town Portal, which just sends your hero back to the fountain, so you can redeploy him next turn. This is the secret shop, which is always random. It's just 1 random card from anywhere in the game. And this is your item deck. You see how it says item deck 9 out of 9?
Yeah.
Each deck has its own set of 9 items.
So you pick those?
Typically, yeah. These are the ones that are built around your deck.
Okay.
And, like, this is a really cheap one you can see with 3 gold. So, like, if you buy this one, then you'll go down to 8 out of 9. So it doesn't strictly get better throughout the course of the game, but as you buy the cheaper items, that means later on you're more likely to have the more expensive items available.
So do they always start with the cheaper items?
It's totally random. See, look at the difference in stats. This is the 2/5 mage, super weak, versus 6/1/8 red. Right. We have the, I mean, this is what happens when a warrior smacks a mage in the face. Like, she's just gonna one-shot him. But the blue heroes typically have really good spells and really good abilities. Like each hero has stats, a passive effect, which we can't see because this is not actual gameplay, so I can't hover my mouse over it. You can see it right here and right here and right here are their passive effects. And each, okay, here's what I'm talking about with the arrow, right? Okay. So the arrow swung this way, which means Pugna is attacking the Zeus here instead of going straight on. And there's a 25% chance of it attacking to either side. 25, 50, 25. But that only happens if it's empty in front of them. If it's not empty, they always attack straight.
I see. It's kind of weird.
It's interesting. It adds a little bit of RNG.
Yeah, it's...
You don't like it? RNG, yucky.
Hearthstone had so much RNG that it kind of turned me off to RNG. And then I played Gwent, and I loved how consistent everything was.
Real quick, that was an improvement that we just saw. An improvement is basically an enchantment, like in Magic the Gathering, where it's just always active. Or in this case, it activates whenever you come to the lane. So this thing just does 2 damage across the board. It's like a mini Flame Strike. So this game does have some RNG, and like a lot of people, when I started playing this game, I was like, oh man, this would be better if it didn't have the RNG. But I've kind of found that it has just the right amount of RNG. It's not like, Hearthstone RNG. It's just like 50, 25, 25. It adds a little bit of variability. It makes the game, like card games in general, just by their very nature, have RNG because you never know what you're going to top deck. Right. So you just have to embrace the fact that that's just going to happen in some of your games. I mean, all of your games, really. So I've made peace with it, and I actually think it makes the game more interesting. Because that's what I personally love about card games. You can play the same deck 100 times, and you'll never have the same game twice.
Yeah, but... Yes.
And with Gwent, you could absolutely have the same game twice.
Yeah, it's...
Well,
which I like, but it's frustrating to lose to bad RNG and not to, someone just being better than you or having a better deck than yours.
Yeah, I mean, it'll happen sometimes. I will say that personally, I think that this game is probably the highest skill to win rate that I've ever seen in a card game.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you're just better, you're just going to win almost every time. Because the RNG is so insignificant compared to the other factors in the game that you getting really lucky is going to get stomped by a good player every time. I think.
How do you get gold?
Every time you kill a creep, you get 1 gold. Every time you kill a hero, you get 5 gold. Also, black, since it's the rogue color, keep in mind, has a whole bunch of gold gaining cards. Like, for example, Payday costs 3 mana, doubles your gold.
Okay.
That's a cool effect, right? Let me see. Any other questions? So, red, green, like red's really big just in general, and green's really defensive. So, I think red, the deck on the bottom hasn't lost any heroes so far, which you can see up at the top. Whereas the blue-black deck is much more vulnerable. But the blue-black deck, once it comes online, will be a little bit more devastating. Though I will say that we're looking at some pre-constructed decks. In my opinion, the blue-black deck is the weakest of the 4. These are the decks that we played at PAX.
Can you have monochrome decks?
Yes, you can have monochrome, you can have 4-color decks, you can have any color combination you want.
Okay.
Basically, the only restriction is, like, this is a red hero. So, these are green cards. He can't play any of these green cards because he doesn't have a red hero. So, if you have a 5-color deck, or I'm not sorry, a 4-color deck, that means there's going to be a lot of cards you can't play in each lane. So, it's going to be very restrictive. But you have, more hero flexibility and more card flexibility. It's just you can't always cast it when you want. The items are the exception. Items have the gold border. You can play items even if there isn't a hero in the lane. Though typically, most items, like 95% of items you play onto heroes, there's a health slot right here, an armor slot right here, and a weapon slot right here. That was a really good play. It's a little bit complicated, so I can't really explain it, but the player on the bottom did a really smart play. It's pretty, isn't it? That's what I love about it.
It's pretty.
It's real pretty. It looks very... It looks like the people who designed Dota, like made this game as well. Mm-hmm. It's got that same sort of like bright colors, like semi-realistic, as opposed to Hearthstone where things are kind of goofy and they don't really look realistic at all. And opposed to Gwent where things are too realistic. Like, let's throw in a little bit of magic. Not everyone has to be like dude in diaper with sword.
No. Some people like that.
like in Witcher.
Do we yet know if there is a... Like, do we yet know how the balance is for this game?
What do you mean by that?
Like, is red, for instance, just totally dominant over all the other colors?
Well, keep in mind that there's only like, I don't know, a couple hundred people in the beta. Right. So it's not like people have figured out the best deck.
Sure.
They still got a ways to go before that happens. But based on my understanding, blue is generally considered to be pretty strong, which doesn't surprise me because blue has some insanely strong spells, which I don't think we're going to see any of because this blue deck doesn't have really heavy spells. It has spells that create a lot of creep, and then black cards that capitalize on having a lot of creep, which is kind of a rare thing. Generally speaking, green is the color that likes to go really wide with a lot of minions, but blue has a couple of spells that do that.
So if I were playing Hearthstone, I could build, I'm going to build a deck based around, I don't know, like a token deck, or I'm going to make a charge deck, or, how many options are there in this for kinds of decks you can make?
There's an immense amount of variability.
Okay.
For example, let's suppose you just want mono red. You just have really, really super strong heroes. But then you could go mono red with lots of spells and items and not have any minions and just rely on your heroes to carry you. Or you could have lots of minions on your board as well with red, because red has some really strong minions. You could pair that with blue and then have like a red, tough, brawly front line to keep your blue dudes alive long enough for the blue guys to cast their blue spells that are super, super strong late game. Alternatively, blue has cards that like to muck around with combat, like they change the arrow direction. So you could just use blue to support red so that blue changes the arrows around so that the red gets the kills that they want to get. And And then there's just all kinds of different color combinations. Plus, within that, it's not like in Hearthstone where it's like, okay, I'm playing a mage deck.
What am I watching? What just happened?
Zeus, that hero right there.
Yeah.
Every hero has 3 premier cards, and when you add that hero to your deck, they automatically add 3 of those premier cards. Zeus's card is Thunder God's Wrath, which does 4 piercing damage, means it ignores armor to every enemy hero, and that's a custom animation they have. What was I saying before that?
About different deck types and Blue likes to muck around with combat.
Oh yeah, so like in Hearthstone, when you play mage, that means you are playing the mage deck, and you've got your fire. What is it? Fire Blast is the hero ability, and you've got access to all the hero cards, all the mage cards, and all the neutral cards, and that's what you build your deck out of. The same is true here. If you build a red deck, then you have access to all the red cards in the same way that you'd have access to all the mage cards. But within red, you've got like whatever it is, 15 red heroes, 20 red heroes, however many it is. So it's not like in Hearthstone where it's like Mage Mirror versus Mage Mirror where both people are playing, like freeze control versus freeze control. You could have a red deck with like Axe and Legion Commander versus a red deck with completely different red heroes. So the heroes just add so much variability that really change the dynamic of the field that I like a lot. And like all these discussions of I like these 4 heroes. What do I want for my 5th hero? Because there's so much to consider. There's the body. There's like I said, there's the body, there's the passive, and the premier card that goes along with it. Some heroes have really, really amazing bodies, but garbage premier cards, and some heroes have the opposite, which is they're super weak bodies, but they have incredible premier cards. Then some heroes like Job Ranger are just broken across the board.
So if I have Zeus in my deck, and I have Zeus out on the board, and he dies, can I still draw premier cards?
Right, yeah, they're in your deck, and you can still cast them even.
Okay.
Zeus is blue, and his premier card, Thunder God's Wrath, is blue. So
right.
This is Crystal Main, also blue. If you've got Crystal Main in your lane,
okay,
then you can cast that card.
Is there much synergy between heroes, or are heroes kind of their own identity?
Speaking of synergy, that hero that we just left, she has a passive that makes it so that the first time you cast a spell in a lane, you refund 2 mana.
Okay.
So she synergizes really well with blue heroes because blue heroes like to cast lots of spells. So it basically increases your total mana in each lane by 2 as long as you use them to cast spells and not like creeps.
Right.
Or like this hero right here is really, really good at hitting towers. You want this hero to always hit the tower as much as possible because she does extra damage to towers. So she would pair really, really well with any card or hero that's good at destroying things in front of them. For example, there's another black hero called Phantom Assassin, which is just her premier card is just kill a hero. So those two pair fairly well together because you just clear out a lane in front of Sorla Khan is that one in order to just smack the tower for massive amounts of damage. So there's just it's probably what I would consider the most customizable card game I've ever seen.
Okay.
Just because you got the added element of heroes. Plus you got the added element of items on top of that.
Right.
And yet still more on top of that is you get to decide which order your heroes deploy. Right, because you start the game with 3, so you have to decide which of the 5.
Wait, what just happened?
Wait, I don't know what did I was talking to you.
What's that?
Oh, so you see this? This is the tower health. He has 23 health. He's about to get hit by 26.
Yeah.
So he just lost the tower. So it went down to now it's the core. So you can see that this is the tower, and then this is the core right here.
Yeah.
So the top
the core
player
shared between lanes, I assume.
It doesn't matter because you just have to destroy 2. If you reveal this tower in this lane, he would win it because you destroy 2 towers. That's how you win. 2 out of 3 towers.
Okay.
So
that's the point of the core.
Because you can still win by going just 1 lane.
Okay. So it's either kill the core or 2 towers?
Right.
Okay.
Right. That's exactly right.
So is it a viable strategy then to just completely abandon one lane?
Oh, yeah. You actually kind of have to completely abandon one lane. Because if you try to spread all your resources across 3 lanes, then you're probably just going to lose all 3 lanes.
Okay.
In fact, now that this player here has won this lane, actually, well, this particular deck is an exception because this particular deck is really good at destroying the core if it wants to. But typically what happens is once you destroy a tower, you want to pull your heroes out of that lane so that you can put them in other lanes so they can help take it down those towers. And deciding when you're going to abandon a lane is a pretty important step in the game. It's a critical decision.
Mm-hmm. What are these arrow cards?
Basically, okay, so when you deploy your heroes, so let's look here. Let's look here. So when you deploy a card, it has to go in front of another card if possible.
Okay.
So there's this card coming in, which he chose to put in, and then the 2 creeps. You always get 2 creeps every turn, and they come into a lane randomly. In this case, they came in here. So these 3 cards are going to come in somewhere along here, but we've got 3 left over. So those go to the arrows. There's a 50% chance that it's going to be a straight arrow and a 25% chance that it's going to be one of the curved arrows. So then the imps, these little dudes, just randomly shuffle up in here. So these cards will be randomly distributed across these, whereas this card will have to go there, which means this guy's going to attack this guy. Mm-hmm. So it's essentially just RNG. It's like those things are dice rolls. So this is how they turned out, and of course the arrows add a little bit of RNG.
Right.
Just a touch. Richard Garfield likes RNG. I've watched speeches he's given. He's kind of won me over, to be honest. I was like against it, but after listening to him talk about it, it's kind of convincing.
Well, you can take it too far. Hearthstone takes it too far.
Yeah, Hearthstone removes player agency, essentially.
Hearthstone is just an RNG simulator.
Right. So some heroes have passives, like the Crystal Maiden here. This is just always on. Some heroes have an activatable. He has a clicky, which destroys an improvement, but there are no improvements in this lane, so that hero is not amazing, in my opinion.
The red one?
Yeah. This hero's incredible.
Which one?
This one.
Why?
Because she's got a decent body, and she's got a really good card. Her card is dual. Basically, you pick one of your heroes, and you pick one of their heroes, and they fight each other. So in a color that normally doesn't have a really good assassination spells, it's like the red's version of assassination. You just make 2 things punch each other.
Right.
So you could duel this against this, and she would slaughter. Like red's so good at fighting. It's just, and it's only 2 mana, so it's just spectacular.
Right.
And she's actually a weak red hero, believe it or not, 6/8 compared to these others.
Is there a mana cap?
No. Every turn you just gain +1 mana. And when you run out of cards, the game just keeps going until someone wins because the heroes keep coming back. So eventually someone's going to win.
Right.
It's neat, right? And you own your cards. So it's not like in Hearthstone where a set rotates out and it's like, okay, I guess I got to spend another $100 on a set. No, you could sell your current deck on the market, get money in the Steam market, and then use it to buy a new deck.
Right.
Theoretically, if you're good at using the market and you don't blow your money on bad trades. He's cast a spell on Axe to make him invincible, permanently invincible for the rest of the game. Which is kind of dumb because Axe is the single strongest hero, like in terms of his body in the entire game. So making him invincible is kind of overkill. He should use it on someone else, to be honest. So according to this little field here, you can see that next turn, based on the
current...
current...
Can you explain what all is in that box?
Yeah, okay. So this is the first lane, this is the second lane, this is the third lane. Okay. This is the bottom half, this is the top half. So
why are the first 2 boxes grayed out and the one on the right is light colored?
Oh, this is the lane we're in right now. Okay. We're in this lane.
Okay.
So you probably don't recognize these icons, but I do because I've been following it. This is Lycan. You can recognize the face. He's a green Lycan hero. This
Those
is
are the
Pugna.
heroes?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And this X means that based on the current situation, this hero. No, I'm sorry. Based on the current situation, this hero is going to die. Whatever it is that's in front of him, it's going to kill him if nothing else changes. Also, this tower is going to die if nothing changes. Also, this keep is going to die if nothing changes. This hero is dead, and he's got -1, which means he's got 1 turn until he's going to be deployed. If he were ready to be deployed, he'd have a little check mark.
So heroes keep coming back?
Yeah, when a hero dies, they get sent back to the fountain. Then they're gone for 1 full round. They're dead. Then the next turn after that. So like, let's suppose like this guy's dying. This guy's dying right now. In the following turn, this guy won't be able to deploy this hero. He's going to come back here. He's going to be -1. And then after everyone goes through, next turn he's going to be able to deploy him. There's one hero in the game. His name is Rix. He doesn't have the -1. He just comes back every time. You just can't keep him down. He's a furry. So the issue right now is there's a massive amount of damage coming in this lane. And I don't know if this hero can stop it. This guy's premier cards is an improvement which you cast in a lane, and it makes it so that every time you hit a tower, you hit it for +2 damage, and he's got 3 on them. So every unit in that lane, like these are the improvements, the salt ladders. Every time you cast something hits a tower, it hits for +6 damage, which is why it's dealing so much. So Sorla Khan, that's that black hero with a ton of attack. All he wants to do is just siege down a tower as fast as possible. So he just casts Blink Dagger on this guy. Blink Dagger allows you to teleport a hero to another lane, which is probably what he's going to do here. I guess he's going to teleport this hero to lane 2 to help stop all this damage.
Right.
Let's see if he does that. I don't know if it's going to be enough. Some items are just passive bonuses. Some give you clickies. See, that's exactly what happens.
It's random?
What's random?
Where your hero gets placed.
You decide which lane it goes in. With this card, with that card Blink Dagger, you decide which lane it goes in, but then once it gets to the lane, it's random. Randomness. We know how you feel about that. Mm-hmm. So he's got to stop at least 2 damage from coming in. Except probably more because the opponent has 10 mana he's sitting on. He's probably going to do something that's going to murder him. This symbol right here, the 3 arrows, indicates cleave. So because of this card, you get 2 cleave, which means when he attacks, he's going to deal 2 damage to the sides. Mm-hmm. See, this is that duel card I was talking about. He's going to duel Sorla Khan with Pugna. And they fight. Fight. It's a cool effect.
It is.
And that saved like 20 damage from coming into the tower, which is insane. And this guy's going to cleave down these 3. So really the only thing left is going to be this guy. He just used an improvement. That improvement does 4 piercing damage every turn. You click the improvement, then you click the target, and it can go across lanes too. Mm-hmm. So my guess is we're probably going to still see more blockers come down because he kind of needs them. So what are your impressions so far of the game? Like watching a game from start to nearly finish.
I see the appeal. It's more attractive than Hearthstone for sure.
Why do you say that?
The RNG of Hearthstone really turns me off. A. B. It's more visually pleasant. I like the idea of the lanes. I think it adds a lot of sort of strategy and
depth, a ton of depth. You need to come in frame a little more now that I realize. I hope you haven't had a happier face. like oh, I'm really shy, guys.
I never really cared for the Hearthstone minion combat. And here, it's not like every turn I can choose to have my red hero attack some other minion, or go face. Its attack was in front of them, and it's simplified, it's streamlined, and I prefer that.
Let me ask you. Some people have been concerned that the game's too complex, especially for newcomers. As a new player, how do you feel about the complexity of this game?
It's approachable. I think that the game's going to be difficult to grasp for a newcomer just because of any game with this depth is going to have a learning curve. It's like someone starting up League of Legends for the first time.
Right,
There's just a lot of information you have to understand and know.
And that's like one of the top 3 most popular games in the world.
There's just I as a new player need to learn what's her name, Crystal Maiden.
Yeah,
I need to learn what Crystal Maiden does, and once I know that, then I can react appropriately to her. So there's a learning curve for sure, just because of game knowledge. But I think it's not so overwhelming that it's unapproachable. So difficult but approachable, I would say.
Right. And I kind of feel like the type of people who play card games are the type of people who are okay with crunchy, like number focused, let me think with my brain real hard types of games. Right. So I feel like the audience for this game wouldn't really care about that anyways. So he just equipped an item right here that gives +5 siege. This guy, even though he's hitting Zeus here, is going to deal 5 siege damage to this thing. Unfortunately, he's probably going to die because he's 1 damage off from. He's got to stop 2 damage essentially. He's still got a unit he can put down, the Savage Wolf, but nothing else is really going to do much. The problem is, even if he plays Savage Wolf, he can steam cannon it for 4 and kill it.
Is there a maximum number of cards you can play at any given point?
No.
It's just based on mana cost?
Yeah. And it's also worth mentioning that this game, it's not like Hearthstone where you just, play your 10-card wombo combo, one turn kill combo. In this game, every time you play something, you have to pass it to the other person, so they have an opportunity to disrupt your combo. Which I like. Oh, and you just saw the conveying effect. Your board can be infinitely long.
Interesting.
Apparently, the designers have created a situation where there was more than like 10k units in a lane.
Yeah. Which
is nuts. All right, that's the match. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it looks interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Really, just it looks interesting. Of the card games that are currently available that are popular, those being Magic Online, Hearthstone, Gwent, and
Elder Scrolls,
which I know nothing about, probably for a reason. This is probably going to, I don't know if it'll like overtake Hearthstone just because Hearthstone is so well established. I hope it does because I don't like Hearthstone.
Says the guy going to BlizzCon in 2 days.
Whatever. Not going for Hearthstone stuff. I think it has a lot of potential. Honestly, the market part of it might turn some people off. I think that's a really finicky, weird thing that people are going to.
You mean the market of buying items in the game, or the market of trading cards?
Trading cards.
Oh, I like it. Being able to liquidate your...
Sure, yeah. I'm sure some people do like that. And there are a number of people that are going to be attracted to it just because they think they can, and maybe they can, you know, make money off of the game, and that's great. But how do you acquire cards?
You buy packs.
Okay, so you...
Actually, you can't... There is no, like, grind for gold.
So how do you get...
You have to buy packs.
You have to buy packs.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to turn a lot of people off. It's going to turn a whole lot of people off. And
That's probably true.
In this current mindset, wherein one of the most popular models is a free game where you can purchase microtransactions, a game where you have to purchase the game and then purchase power within the game.
That's true, but then you have to consider like the cost to deck, the cost to play it, to make a deck. In Hearthstone, if you want to play constructed, you have to drop $100 easy every single set to play 1 or 2 decks. In this, theoretically, you could put $50 into the game to buy the game plus a bunch of packs and just alternate every single rotation.
Sure, and I get that. But, you know, say 2 years from now, when there's been massive power creep and all the cards you previously had are no longer viable.
Yeah, I hope they don't have power creep. I feel like that's just a fate, a destiny of every fucking card game out there. Right. It's just nutty power creep. Magic the Gathering power creep is insane. Hearthstone is getting worse and worse every expansion.
Worse and worse.
I'm hoping that this team kind of reins in a little bit and chills out. We'll have to see though.
Because with power creep, it forces you into their desired model.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that they might not do power creep because this has a sort of unique situation where like old heroes have to be able to coexist next to new heroes.
Right.
And if you have just like another red hero that's a 7-4-11 instead of a 7-2-11, but it's the same in every other way, it's like, come on, guys. Right. You can't do that because why would you want to have 2 of these guys in the same deck? But okay, this video has gone pretty long. Thank you for joining me today for this weird video. And man, it's getting late. I can tell you're sleepy. I'm pretty sleepy too. So thanks for watching, guys. Dabacab out.